I'll give a brief overview of it for people who have never heard of this before, and they may have heard the term German New Medicine. That's kind of an older term for this. It's now Germanische Heilkunde, like I said, GHK. And it's the discoveries of a physician about 40 years ago in Germany, Dr. Regiger Hammer. And he was a regularly trained physician, worked, was extremely smart. He was an inventor. He held patents. He had degrees in theology and medicine and physics. I mean, this is not a slacker guy, right? And one day in his early 40s, this is the late 70s, he received a phone call that his teenage son had been accidentally shot while on vacation. He and his wife, who was also a physician, rushed to their son's side. For about 4 months later, their son died in their arms. And shortly after that, Dr. Hammer was diagnosed with testicular cancer. Well, he was always an extremely healthy man, and he started to put two and two together here. I have this huge shock in my life, and now I have cancer. There's got to be a correlation. But he is not going to go to mind, body, spirit like you and I might. All right. He's a classically trained physician. That's not part of his reality. So he took this new invention called a CT scan. And at this time, he got through surgery. He was fine. He was working at the University of Munich in Germany. And he was in the cancer area in the hospital. And he ended up doing CT scans of all of his patients. And he was thinking, well, maybe the brain is something's in the brain as far as the cause of disease. No one had ever looked at the cause of disease in the brain before. So he did CT scans and he starts to look at all of them. He did one for himself as well. And he realized that he could see a circular targeted ring formation, like a lesion that was in different areas of the brain. He had one as well. What was that? No one could tell him what it was. So he started talking with his patients and he asked them, what's going on in your life? And he realized all of them had had some sort of trauma or emotional distress or something went on prior to their diagnosis. Then he realized that all of the men with testicular cancer had all experienced a very profound loss in their life. Someone had passed and it was big for every single one of them. So he started to put all of this information together, their CT scan, their diagnosis, and what had gone on in their life. And what he realized, he was able to finally say that the cause of disease was what he realized was that everyone who had the circle in the same area of the brain all had the same diagnosis and they had all experienced the same kind of trauma prior to their diagnosis. There were no exceptions to this. All of the men with a profound loss conflict had testicular cancer. They didn't have liver cancer. They didn't have pancreatic cancer. They all had testicular cancer. Same thing with the women. All the women with ductal breast had all experienced a certain kind of trauma prior to. So there were no exceptions to this, like I said, and that is unheard of in the medical community. You can't even say that smoking causes cancer, lung cancer, because not everyone who smokes gets lung cancer. It's not 100%. This was 100%. So over many years, he got in many CT scans and he looked at all of them and he was able to map out the entire brain. So he knew what the conflict shock was for every disease or illness. And what he discovered is in this chart behind me, it's all color coded, and it was confirmed by embryologists because it fit in with the embryology, the development of us from a single cell until we are born. So it fit in perfectly with embryologists as well. So that's it in a nutshell. Do you have any questions?
How can you question that? Oh my goodness. I've got chills going up my legs and arms just thinking about
Awesome.
that. That
Awesome.
is incredible.